Hey guys, and so in this talk we're going to go through a workflow of what it would be like to add a new project to GitHub, and this is basically the workflow of what I would do to build out a new website, just the beginning stages of getting everything up and running using Node Package Manager and Gulp. And this is kind of an introduction into those, but you're just going to see how I would get everything up and running. I'm going to create a repository for a boilerplate using Gulp and SASS. And so I know Webpack has been up and coming project, or at least the way of managing projects, just much like Node Package Manager and Gulp might do that. But I'm still going to build this out just to give you an example of what it's like now, and I may do a Webpack version later. And so the first thing I'm going to do is create a repository. And actually, maybe before I create the repository, I'm going to set up this project. So we're going to be using npm, and we're going to add Gulp to it to be able to process our SASS files. And SASS is a way of compiling CSS and basically writing CSS in a simple way for humans as we were typing through and not having to repeat ourselves so much. And then SASS is going to compile into CSS to where that would be used in the project as the final file that's going to be presented to the user. So let's show you what that looked like. So we're going to go ahead and open up our terminal. I'm going to go into work in progress, and we'll just create a new directory here, backspace boilerplate, and then I'm going to cd into that, so Gulp, and then I'm going to open up Sublime Text. So the first thing we want to create, I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like over here. Going to npm init, and that's going to create a package JSON. It's going to ask me a couple questions, and so Control C at any time, initiate, npm install, package, save. It's great. And so yeah, that's fine. So it's just going to let us set any description or endpoint or test command. We're just going to leave everything blank for now, and we can always come back and edit this little snippet in the package JSON right here. So if you come back, we have a package JSON file here, and then we could probably put in Chance Smith. And for adding Gulp, we're going to do that by basically starting to build out our file. So we'll know we'll need a Gulp file, and we'll go ahead and do that too. So if I do touch Gulp file JS, now that is in our directory here, and it has nothing in it. We know we'll be requiring Gulp, and then SASS will be requiring as well. So I have I have the Gulp requirement already installed globally, and I would do that by npm install with a G for global, and then using Gulp as the package I would need to install. And so npm would install this not inside of my project directory, but actually as a global dependency that I could put in a user folder that would be able to hold all the node modules that I would need, just like Gulp. So this is already installed on my machine. I don't need it, and so I'm just going to back up. So the next thing I need is this Gulp SASS. And then as I add that in, I do need to add in that save dev. And what this does is it saves it as a dev dependency inside of my package JSON. So this is going to be great as we move forward, that this is not installed globally. And then if I use a npm install later down the road, if I delete the project from my computer, and I can just have a list of the dependencies I want to install and not have to do this every time. So this will be helpful moving forward. So as that installs, we can go ahead and figure out what we're going to do next. So we've got our Gulp requirement and our SASS requirement inside of our Gulp file. I'm going to go ahead and go down. Looks like this is making progress and is done. So I'm going to create a task for Gulp. It's going to be SASS. Reload. This is basically showing that we've added Gulp SASS to this project. And I could add a SASS task, and then I'm also going to add a watch task as well. All right, so let me explain what's going on. We're going to return the source. So as long as we have a SASS folder in the current directory, so we'll go ahead and do that. Do new folder, call it SASS. And you can see down here is the folder. And then next, it's going to look for all of the folders and files inside of of this SAS folder that has an extension of SCSS, and that's the extension for SAS files. And then it's going to see if there's any errors when that compiles all the way through. So in SAS and less, you're able to do variables. So instead of knowing what the hexadecimal color is, you can actually give the color a name that we would understand. So if it was red, or if it was light blue, or if it was a brand color number 1, or brand red, or something like that, you're able to define a variable. So that's nice about SAS and less. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to distribute that out to a CSS folder. So this is great. I don't even have to create the CSS folder. My Gulp task here of SAS is going to do that for us. So this is the name of the task, and then we also have a SAS watch, and what it's going to do is watch all of the files inside of the SAS folder that has an extension of SCSS, and then this is going to run. Well, so if anything changes in this way of any of these files, it's going to run this task, and then this task is going to run to return, basically create all of our CSS files. It's a really, really handy way of building this out. So let me show you what this looks like. I'm only using SAS on this project to watch, and so I'm just going to back out of that being SAS watch and just turn it into watch, SAS watch, Sasquatch? Anyways, so save that, and then I want to make sure that all my dependencies are installed, so I'm going to do npm install. It's going to check, make sure everything's good. One thing I could do is go ahead and initiate the repository, and I could push that up later, or I could add the repository now. So I've got some options, but I still want to continue building this out, but I do want to record my progress along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and do the git init, and it's going to create that git repository. So if I do ls with an L, it's going to show me that I have a, let's do lsa. It's going to show me I have this git repository hidden folder that's going to start tracking the progress of this project. All right, so inside of this SAS folder, I have nothing. So let's go ahead and create a file called main.sas. And then inside that, I'm going to, I totally named that wrong. C. And so we could test this and see if this runs out okay. So I think at this point we can see if we have Gulp as the dependency we're going to call on. And then from there, because we have this Gulp file, this is why I'm able to call Gulp. And so Gulp is now able to give me some kind of task I can run, and that's listed from what we created earlier. So I have Gulp SAS and Gulp watch. So if I do Gulp watch, well, now it's working. All right, so it is watching and waiting for a change inside of SAS with any of the files in there that has an extension of SCSS. So we do have that one file, main CSS. So let's go ahead and add in body. We'll do, and it's only looking for a moment of that has changed when a file is saved, and so that's when the change occurs. So nothing's going to happen to this left window over here until I've hit save. So we'll go ahead and do the primary font color is going to be 222, and then save. You can see that this starts running here on the left. So this is really helpful. You're able to watch these files and compile the CSS immediately. So if I open up main CSS, you'll see that this has already started compiling my SAS. So let me show you at least another really cool thing about SAS. So if I do inside, I can nest elements. I can do all of the anchor links have a text decoration of none, save. You can see that it runs the task here on the left, and then if I go back to main CSS, I now have a body with a color and a body A with a text decoration of none. So I mean, I'm able to nest elements. I don't have to repeat body. I can nest it inside of the body declaration in CSS. So just love SAS and less, and just what that has brought to making CSS so much easier to edit. The only thing you don't want to do is edit the CSS and not be updating. Basically, if you edit the CSS, you have moved away from using SAS or less altogether. So always make sure that there's a SAS or less file to edit first before you start editing the main CSS. So I think this is actually a really good point to stop, because I've created a Gulp file, and I've also created it to where it can process SAS files. The next thing I could do is actually make in a subdirectory of SAS and then reference that here instead. And maybe we'll jump into that into other, maybe if we actually do a video in SASS or less, we can show you how to do that. But this is be a great place to start, being able to have SASS available right out of the gate, and then having all of the node packages, being able to install those as well. So if you have any questions, we can at least now stop Gulp by hitting Control C. And then I've got my git init. So I'm going to go ahead and create this repo of Gulp SASS boilerplate, and then we'll do create repository. Yeah, nothing there. And it's going to give us the option of create a new repository or push up an existing one. So we're going to do that. And then it'll let me paste. I'm going to hit enter. And then now error source master does not match any. Git status, git add, git commit. So let's wait for that to process. So I don't know if you know my shorthands, but GA is git add dot. So that adds everything in the current directory. And then my GC is this git commit with an M tag on there, and then I can open up my quotes. So this is what I do for git commit. I do GC, and then this is going to be a init commit. Switching cameras here. So able to do a git push now. So GP would be git push. And I still need to push up to origin master because it doesn't know that branch exists, and then it's able to push all that up. So once this is done, I will refresh the repository, and we're able to see what is going on the repository here. So I'll add this repository to this description, and then we can move forward. Hope that helps. Adios.
Me.